Go Alpha! Alpha! All right!
Okay, thank you for joining me. I wanted to share some thoughts about training with realistic combat loads, especially with ruck marching, foot marching, and using simulated full ammo loads to help further your training Legos. So, the main hypothesis, pitch I'd like to present here is that I believe we all should carry full combat loads during our training and our physical fitness, our PT, our workouts periodically. And there's some real good benefits and reasons for that. I'm going to share some concepts and how we might try to achieve that. First, to talk about the problem set. Kind of step back and think about how best can we train like we fight. Let me ask you, do you and your unit carry full combat loads around in training and in PT? Fitness training, physical fitness. Over my years, some have, but most haven't. Even in situational training exercises, sticks, lane training, FTXs, field training exercises, even at the CTCs, it's not really normal to have the full combat load for every single role, weapon system, team. It's just not normal. We attempt it, especially the CTCs. They really do try and attempt it, and for some people it is possible, like some roles. But also, there's other constraints that help prevent this. Supply sergeants at the end of ranges or training, due to the policies and procedures we have at the ammo supply points, ASPs, for turn-in, they don't want everybody to have full combat loads. But we must fight against that desire, the easy wrong, that could actually create what I think is some risk to the force, risk to mission, and we're not being as realistic and hard as we should be. Now, being strong, being able to carry weight, is it as simple as just packing a bunch of non-mission essential gear, just adding random packing list items to your rucksack or your kit and getting after it, throwing some weight in the back of the ruck? I don't think so. That is valuable. It is valuable. It is better than nothing. But I do think, and I'd like to challenge everybody who watches this to take it the next step further. You may recall, be familiar with, or probably seen the combat fighting load table in doctrines such as Field Manual 32118 Foot March or 32120 Infantry Company. We'll show an example here for you. However, as you look at these, you may have noticed not everybody's a rifleman. There's a lot more weapon systems and positions in our force. There's a myriad of systems. And that ends up resulting in everyone being an ammo bearer. Everybody has to help cross level and carry the weight, especially during approach marches. That way we can get everything we need to the objective. Now, I do want to note here, all of this is not my idea. These are not new concepts. These are things that I've learned over the years, been passed to me These are things I know units have done for decades, decades upon decades, reading old books and how things have done in the Army and military previously. So maybe this is more of a refresher or a reminder to those seasoned soldiers. And if you're a newer soldier, I hope this is a good introduction to some concepts that need to continue to be passed along. Okay, so what might be a better way to think about combat loads, ammunition weights, how to train for carrying all that? Especially for the infantryman, the close combat soldier. Let's start individually. Step back for a second again. Think about, what does an infantry platoon or company have with weapon systems? Think about the big picture. They have M4s, 320s, M17 pistols, 249s, 240s, AT4s, claymores, mines, grenades, javelins, Carl Gustavs, 60mm mortars, etc. We'll show another picture of an example squad SOP for ammo breakdown. If all that is what's assigned, and that's the combat power that unit is supposed to provide, then that's the requirement to build off of. That's what we should be striving for and thinking to meeting. Now, we couldn't go down the rabbit hole and think about all the other pieces of gear that we have to have, such as batteries, radios, optics, etc. But for this video, I wanted to share concepts just on really ammunition, okay? That class 5 ammunition. All right. At a minimum, I recommend that you carry your assigned ammo for your role. Seems simple. Let's go down. I'm a maneuver leader, okay? So, I've got an M4. Now I'll talk about all this stuff a little later, but for example, M4, right? 7 mags, an M17 pistol, 3 mags, M67 frag grenades, 2, or flashbangs, bayonet, smoke grenades, star clusters, etc. Right? Like, I know that's my combat load for my role. Now, a 320 gunner, add on top, like the M4, 3640 mic rounds, right? An AT gunner needs his clue and missiles. Combat engineers have demo breach charges and other systems that they probably need to carry. There are items per individual that you should know what that standard is, and you should train to that standard and requirement. But that's the minimum, okay? A better ideal in training, okay? And maybe more so during fitness training and stuff, okay? You need to carry some extra items your echelon element has, especially during fitness training. During actual tactical training, sticks, lane, FTXs, when you're training collective level missions, the normal ammunition should get cross-leveled appropriately. And then NCOs, the good NCOs are the ones who lead that, right? Hey guys, I want the rifleman to have the AT4, the 320, the automatic rifleman, X number of boxes, and we're going to cross-level that. Fire team leader's going to carry this, squad leader's going to carry that, and so on and so forth, up at the platoon level, then the company level. There is a game plan to cross level so everybody can share the burden because weight sucks. But individually, you should train to not just carry your gear, but maybe some of the elements gear, elements ammo, right? For example, a squad doctrinally has 2 AT4s assigned to it. Go check it out. Anyone who works and practices because they're assigned to a squad, whether you're within a fire team or are the squad leader, should probably practice carrying an AT4 and Claymore and so on and so forth, right? Companies and platoons have 60 millimeter mortars. Should probably practice carrying a couple rounds of mortars. You should expect it as part of your role as a member of that team. Okay, but what's the value of carrying all this? Why start from that position? Like, why go down the rabbit hole with that? Can I just put in a bunch of weight in my ruck and kit and get strong that way? Carrying ammunition is not just a weight problem. It's a volume and a space issue as well. These things take up space. They're oftentimes not, they're awkward, right? And you want to be able to do it in the dark, feeling around, taking care of cross-leveling from your buddy on yourself, when you're consolidating, reorganizing, and so on and so forth. Knowing what you and everyone on the team needs to carry truly furthers the realism, being ready for the real fight. There's so much Class 5 that needs to be carried because it accomplishes our missions. It helps keep us alive. And not only that, but we have to do it over distance. We have to be able to carry these things to the objective. It's part of the requirements of the job. We all kind of hate it, but we know we need to embrace it. And ideally, it's very, very important to me that I don't want my soldiers to experience the weight and have to figure out how to carry all this for the first time on a full combat load, full unit basic load, whatever you want to call it, on the two-way range in combat. I don't want them to feel like, holy crap, this is seriously a lot of weight. I've never trained for it before, for the first time when you're getting shot at. I charge every leader in the military that might be an indicator of potential failure as a leader to not train that realistic. Now, I do want to say, load planning, reducing total weight, determining where and how to accept risk, caching ammo, doing vehicle drop-off of ammo, all that in order to gain good mobility, reduce fatigue is crucially important still, okay? I'm not downplaying how important any of that is. What I'm trying to say here in this video, what I'm trying to share is that there will be times when the mission requirements dictate a certain amount of Class 5. Maybe it's a full unit basic load, combat load. Maybe it's got to be tailored to urban where you're going to need to do 2 to 3 and have to figure out some real resupply in there. Maybe some people on some weapon systems need half basic load. Maybe the M4 part of the 320 gunner isn't 7 max. Whatever you're going to tailor it to, the basic combat load is the benchmark. It's the point you deviate from. And you may have to carry basic, the combat load. You may have to start there. It's a good place to start. Okay, so how to simulate, replicate all this, and much more, right? If we never have enough live ammo issued for full combat load, and if we know, because we've been in the military for a minute, that TASCs don't have enough training aid simulators to issue everybody full combat loads, we have to generate and get creative on how to do it, okay? You might be asking yourself, not actually sure what the combat loads are for everything. That's a great question. Keep asking that. Keep asking and searching for answers. Every unit's standard operating procedure and tactical standard operating procedure should define what the basic combat load is per assigned team and weapon system, right? An anti-tank team should have X amount of rounds. A 240 machine gun team should have X amount of rounds. There are many things written that say that's where it is specified. There's some doctrinal numbers for some weapon systems. But if you have that gap in your standard operating procedure, that needs to be fleshed out and determined so you can know what that benchmark is. Okay? I do propose, now how do we kind of make this happen? We go back to like the 80s, 90s Army. Get creative. Back then, they didn't quite have a lot of training ammunition or quite have all the weapon systems issued. And they were going bang, bang, bang with sticks, especially in some of the National Guard and Reserve IDTs. I recall hearing our former soldiers who went before us talking about stories back then. You know, 5.56 can be replicated with dummy rounds. I know there's other ways to put weights in there, but at least having some type of magazine or some dummy rounds or something in there to give you that basic load replicated, right? Dummy rounds for 9mm can be done. Hand grenade bodies, right? Now, for 5.56 link and 7.62 link, right? I recommend you keep some of that dunnage. Some ASPs don't always need the dunnage. You get Ziploc bags, trash bags, whatever, fill them up with play sand and tape everything off, and there you go. Mortar rounds, you know, depending on the size, what you want, what you can find, you know, 1 liter bottles, it's not too bad. Spray paint, tape the top, fill with sand. Gustav rounds. You can replicate, you know, 84mm HEDP 502 RS round. It's this size and this weight. Knowing that, you know, you got, again, like I was saying, I generally use a sledge for weapon system replication when I'm ruck marching around civilian areas, because, you know, local law enforcement's not a big fan of running around with a lot of tactical gear, carrying weapons. So try to mitigate that a little bit. Logs from, you know, farms, Tractor Supply. Generally, coincidentally, most of our rounds or tubes are approximately the same size. They're not too far distant, so between Javelin, AT4, M3 maaws, Carl Gustav, the tube with the rounds, tow missiles, they're all approximately about the same size. So this is how I've created this stuff. Use your imagination, be creative. Some of the next things I'm working on, trying to continue to build out, is you know, I need 40 mic rounds. I need anti-tank and anti-personnel mines. I probably need to make some breach charges, some demo charges. You know, whether I got, you know, bags for infols or using wood blocks for, for demo charges, right? Like, that's just some ideas I have had and I've seen and have used. I am real curious as you're watching and thinking if you think there's other class 5 things that need to be replicated, and more importantly, how you've seen or heard them replicated. Please share down in the comments. There's probably some good resources and documents other people have led the way on. I do ask, yeah, please share. Let's cross-level all this information, because knowledge is half the battle, right? Okay, we've kind of talked a little bit about what individuals should carry, how we can kind of make some of that to help make our training a little bit more realistic. What about as a whole unit, coming from the concept as units, okay? The good minimum standard would be each individual carries what they should, right? The grenadier, the rifleman, the automatic rifleman, the MG team carries what they're supposed to. Okay, cool. Now a note here, right? Leaders should practice carrying extra of whatever their element has. Fire team leaders definitely need to practice carrying extra 249 and probably some 40 mic, right? A squad leader, the same. A weasel definitely needs to practice carrying 7.62, Gustav rounds, and or javelin missiles. As a maneuver leader, going through the platoon and company and so on, I kind of want to carry at least some of everything my elements have. The company level, that means, I've got like at least one each of different items. Might carry 2, right? To get whatever amount of weight I'm looking for during that fitness session. And again, during actual training, it depends on how much ammo the full combat load is and how the good NCOs want to cross level. The better standard though, right? The better standard is each unit develops from that SOP, the combat load, right? They got that. Okay. They go then create a construction list, an item list of everything they need to generate every single round that element is supposed to have. Every single round a fire team or a squad or a weapon squad or a mortar section is supposed to have. Okay? Then that should go to the supply, get a memorandum for justification, and go locally source all those materials and create that class 5 allocation. Get it, inventory it, put it in tough boxes. Now there's a fire team tough box, the squad tough box in addition to their squad gear, in addition to the mortar gear. It's a lot. That would be the better standard. Each element has the amount of class 5 they want in simulated, replicated amounts. That's a lot. Think about that. I know it's a lot, but it's probably the harder right to do in order to make sure everybody knows how much we're supposed to have. During field training, especially with blanks, right? During sticks, FTXs, when using blanks, you reduce the amount that you take out of the boxes. A good example here, right? If a 240 machine gun team gets allocated something ridiculous like only 100 rounds of 7.62 link, I've seen that way too many times, but whatever, right? That's what they're given. They should draw another 7 boxes of simulated 7.62, right, for the full 800 rounds, and then divvy up that between the assistant gunner, ammo bearer, weasel, whatever. That way that machine gun team has its full combat load. It will in one way be a forcing function for them to figure out how to adapt and carry everything and use it properly. Okay? Here's the anecdote kind of this from previous experience. Back when I was with Delta Company, 1st of the 151 Infantry, a heavy weapons company, we tried to work over time incrementally and strove towards these types of principles and concepts. We generated memorandums and requested from the ASP empty Mark 19 and 50 cal boxes. Get trash bags, Ziploc bags, fill them up with sand to the proper weights, and put them in the vehicles. Initially, a lot of soldiers have the lazy discipline standard of putting all their personal gear all over the trucks and stuff, when really you got to have that good class 5, right? Aside from that, there's everything else, mission stuff, medical stuff. But the class 5 needs to have the designate, be right in the right spot with the load plans, and there's an X amount of combat load ammunition for it. It takes up a lot of space. Over time, through personally procured and developed missiles, we were able to get a purchase authorized and create enough missiles, right? Along with our field tactical trainer simulated missiles from Task C, that each tow truck had about 5 missiles in it. 5 of the 7 that they should have in their basic combat load, they had. Everybody stopped putting their stuff in the back of the Humvees because the missiles were back there. And we're better for it. Another thing we would do is dismounted heavy weapon system ruck marches. Like 50 cal ruck marches with the cans and the tripods and the receiver and the barrel all broken down amongst the platoon and sections. And we would ruck march, because that might be a requirement of the next fight. A lot of us complained it was kind of crappy. It sucked, but it was necessary. That was the training we need to be good in lethal units. This is just some examples of the creativity that I hope to inspire you all to showing you what I've done so far towards your units to take it further. Again, please share your ideas so we can share that knowledge. All right, in closing, again, I hope this helps provide some ideas and ways to think about it so we can all get better at this craft, get better at this profession of arms, which at the end of the day will achieve our nation's purpose of protecting Americans, and then secondarily keeping ourselves alive so all of us can come back home after we seize the objective. All right, thank you. I hope you have a good day.